Stop listening! Instead, stream the uncut version of this discussion by either or both, tipping us on Ko-fi or joining a membership on either Ko-fi or Patreon via the links in the description.
My cousin lives like 15 miles away, so it's not like she's...
No, that's close.
I mean, New Yorker, 15 miles is probably like forever, but... Yeah.
It's really
Here, 15 miles is daily. Like, I have to drive that to do anything. Americans think 200 years is a long time, and British people think 200 miles is a long distance.
They don't have a gauge for how much space we have at all.
Feet.
Anybody from any other country except for maybe Canada who could probably rival us in terms of space per person. Or what is it, 40 million people on all of Canada.
Russia. Because Russia's got a lot of space.
We don't talk to them, though. They're like a distant relative. They bring up politics on the table, then they bang their fork, and then they stabbed somebody that one year at Thanksgiving.
Don't forget the bear at the table.
Right,
Yeah.
This is another reason. All the reasons why we don't talk to them. We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing programs beyond the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh. Most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by...
Lazy Gardener.
And that's it. And we're here to talk to you about Dark Wind's 5th episode of its 4th season, titled, it didn't look this up, Atída'ahiilyaágíí, which means those who harmed one another. Housekeeping, well, as always, you can get merch on our merch store. Head over to squawkingdead.com, choose shop merch in the main menu. You can look at our old store, which has a lot of old designs, or you can look at our new store, which has some really cool Squawking Dead merch that has been published on the old store, has been revamped with a whole bunch of other cool things that you can get along with those designs. You can get framed prints of things like the Kirk Manley design. You can get our updated Fallout merch, which Karina, who is with us during our Last of Us coverage and Fallout, graciously designed, and I was able to use some of the characters to put them in different scenarios, so check those out.
Apparently, they're making a Fallout Shelter game show.
We talked about that. Right, you weren't on with us for the most part.
I wasn't there. Okay. It showed up in my feed, and I was like, what?
You're right, though. We had brought it up as a possibility, but as of a month or two ago...
They were advertising for casting.
Exactly. Rob said I should sign up to be in the Fallout Shelter, and I'm like, nobody wants this. Nobody. I sniffed my socks. We talked about this.
But Dave, wouldn't that be great to talk about on the podcast?
NDA. See, this is the problem. You have to think these through. We wouldn't be able to.
After, though.
Yeah.
Because you could talk about your experiences.
See, but they'd have to trust me not to... I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe it's over already. I don't know.
I just saw the advertising on Facebook yesterday or the day before.
They're still doing casting calls?
Apparently.
All right. Fine. I'll do it, and I'll be up front, and I will put my cards on the table and say, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. Not right away. Obviously, NDA. Anything else? Bridget's doing really well. Saw some new photos of the baby that I'm not going to share with you. That's Bridget's business. If you want to see her stuff, go to her channel and her social media. Maybe she's sharing them. Maybe she's not. We don't know. She's pretty private, so she's probably not. But everything's going well. We miss her very much.
We do. If something happens to me, it'll just be Dave talking about Dark Winds.
Oh. Hey, Dave, the internet went out. Also, there's a storm. Also, there's a fire behind me. Also,
yeah.
Also, North Carolina is basically gone with me and me with it. So how are you talking to me beyond the grave? Yikes. I would probably switch the podcast to talking about that. Forget shows. What happened there? Okay, let's talk about the show, Those Who Harmed One Another. How does the title relate to what we saw?
Doesn't it apply to everybody in this show pretty much?
On the obvious front?
Well, let's go with the super obvious, Joe and Emma.
Obvious signs of one harming the other.
She definitely hurt him in this episode with that jerking her hand away. And
that's another I'm so happy for you moment.
Because you get the feeling, yes, she's glad to see him. And she hasn't been particularly affectionate, but she hasn't been particularly distant either. But in this instance, I think the fact that she was patching him up, again, like she said, I moved 600 miles away and I still have to patch you up. I can see how she's like, is he doing this to ingratiate himself or insinuate himself back into my life. No communication for months and months, and then he just shows up and thinks everything's going to be okay.
Why
It's
do
not
you
going to work
suddenly
that
decide
way.
to do it? Is it because she's away, right?
Finally, it was because you're looking for this girl. It wasn't really to come see me, but you think everything's just going to be okay?
Of course, there's so much more to that the show's revealing, because we don't know his reaction to reading the letters. All we know is that he hasn't written back, hasn't called back. He finds out how Emma's doing through Helen from the IHS on the res. It's like I said, the show is lying to us. The show is also keeping secrets from us. We don't know Joe's mind because he doesn't want to tell us.
But I see his actions.
We see his face.
Right. Like I said, when she was wrapping him up and she had to reach around him and he was just like, yeah, but that's not what she was doing. He's thinking things that aren't going to happen, or he's testing the waters and he's not finding that they're as deep as he wants them to be. And we don't know Emma's mind either because we've seen her all of 10 minutes in this season.
But we're eagerly watching though, because she hasn't been on the show. They gamed us a little bit because we haven't seen her, we want to see every move she makes now.
Like we said last episode, was that a fake emergency call? Looking at the IHS, I don't see how they would send emergency patients. She said there's 4 other hospitals within 10 miles.
Yep.
She has found some peace and she doesn't want to remove that peace. She's not worried about him anymore.
Not to say counterpoint, we have to gather the evidence too, right? What was her response to Joe, particularly saying, "Are you happy here?" She doesn't say that she is. She lists all the reasons of things she likes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really interesting pivot, or really interesting way of not answering the question. She basically says, I like feeling fulfilled and I like fulfilling, being helpful or contributing or making a difference. I'm happy not having to worry. I'm happy not putting myself in a situation that makes me feel bad for feeling awful. And I'm also feeling like you when you're doing your job things, like I'm making a difference and blah, blah, blah. So why wouldn't I be happy? And yet she still doesn't answer the question.
He doesn't do it because he wants to get the x-ray eventually. He does it because she wants him to get the x-ray. And that's exactly what his mom was saying when he went to see her in the first episode. You're not doing this for you, you're doing it for Emma. And that's how, oh, fine, I'll go get the x-ray. That's not what she wants.
Prophetic. She wants you to want to get the x-ray.
She wants to not be your mama and tell you to go get a dang x-ray and stop being stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Grow up.
A little note, he says to Bernadette and she, listen, I don't know if bruised ribs versus cracked ribs is a difference. Maybe it is. But he says to Bern and she, it's just a bump on the head and bruised ribs. And then later on, when they're with the FBI, he goes, what's a bunch of cracked ribs between friends? So, boy, what is it? Bruised ribs or cracked ribs? He's saying one thing to make other people not worry. And he's saying another thing to kind of like, yeah, F you. I'm telling you something different.
That goes along with what the woman says to Chi later. Do you tell a lie to hurt somebody or to protect somebody?
Well done. I had not thought of that. I wanted to go a little deeper on the Joe thing. When Joe decides to get the x-ray, yes, of course he's doing it because maybe that's him still falling into the same patterns of like, I'll do it just for you. But maybe also, I don't like having this thought about him. He exists in the world knowing full well that somebody actually is looking out for him when he gets home. It's like a bad love language. The more they worry, the more he feels as though they love him. And now that she's not worrying about him, he's kind of adrift. He doesn't know how to be in the world. She's always worrying about me. That's how I know she loves me. And now that she's not worrying about me, how do I be? Oh, I guess I'll just get the x-ray now. I wasn't going to get the x-ray because that's how I knew she loved me. I didn't care about myself. People do act this way.
I think she still loves him, but does she want to go back to what was becoming a painful existence?
Being held hostage, basically.
We talked about last week how she didn't work for the IHS anymore on the res, and she was obviously feeling empty and making Joe her purpose. And I don't think that is what she wanted either.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that she was thinking about leaving before that, but what happened with Vines and her finding out kind of gave her the impetus to break away. She didn't even know that she wanted that until she got away and was like, oh, hey, I'm doing something that makes me feel, like she said, feel appreciated and needed. And I'm not dealing with the things that were holding me down on the res, which I didn't realize were holding me down. Worrying about Joe all the time. And now I don't have to do that. And that's freeing. Do I want to go back to that? Is he going to change so I don't have to do that? No. So I'm not going to go back to that.
But that's why Bern leaves initially, is because she feels like, well, all the avenues of her career have been blocked in terms of law enforcement. The only way out really was Border Patrol. But then going back to what you're saying, unless something permanently alters with Joe for her to feel like she could go back.
Sometimes love just isn't enough. You can love somebody and want to be with them, but sometimes you just want more and you move on. That's why people move on from each other. I mean, it happens. You outgrow somebody or you grow apart. And maybe that's something that was happening to them long before. I mean, it probably really thoroughly started happening when Joe Jr. died.
Yeah.
The fact that they survived that as a couple, anyway, I'm not going to say most, but a significant portion of people who lose children end up
Overwhelming.
separating.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's going to last forever.
The cracks were there. They just never showed until the BJ Vines thing shined a flashlight on them. And they're like, oh, they've been there the whole time. It's like The Walking Dead. They didn't know they were dead. This is how you have to become to survive.
Is it possible that... So one of the things Joe's dad was mad about in the past seasons was that he came back to the res.
Right.
And he came back for Emma, was the story that I took from that. Maybe there's a little bit of Joe that resented that, even though he doesn't want to admit it and doesn't even recognize it, but it's there. Those little resentments grow and grow and grow and grow. Maybe Emma had the same kind of feeling, or she felt that from him too. Again, especially after Joe Jr. died, because then it's like, what was the point of us staying here? Our son that we wanted to bring up in the traditions and everything, he's dead. So what is the point of staying here now? Joe was the point of staying there because he was
building a life there.
He was a part of something and she was a part of something. And now he's still a part of that, but she isn't. So why would she want to stay there?
Yeah, as though all of this revealed something about her life that she didn't feel like she could explore, didn't feel like she needed to explore. But now she's realizing, yeah, that it's been holding her back the whole time. There's this whole parallel between Emma and Joe and Chi and Bernadette that you don't really think about until they're side by side. The whole holding you back sort of situation. Why is Chi mad at Bernadette, if not because you left? This is an opportunity. You're holding me back. Well, you're holding me back now.
Her very presence is holding him back.
Yeah.
Just her being there.
Well, and he didn't know that her presence would hold him back initially.
And it's not her intent, but just the fact that she is going to be elevated and he's not, she's holding him back in that way.
Yeah. And had he thought it through, or had he maybe sat with that info before reacting to that info, maybe she would have pivoted eventually to going with his initial proposal, which was, hey, maybe we should run this thing together, lieutenant and lieutenant.
Or if he hadn't had a temper tantrum, they could have gone and talked to Joe together.
Right.
If they had presented as a united front instead of again, I understand where he's coming from, but
especially after this episode,
instead of him acting like a little baby and running away to confront Joe and be a jerk about it, if he and Bernadette had just put a united, he'd be like, hey, maybe we could work this out or whatever, then they could have gone to Joe and said, here's an idea. Why don't we do it together? His behavior is part of the problem there. I feel like he could have gone about that a different way. It would have been better for him if he had gone about it a different way.
And the show also kind of shows between Joe hiding his injuries and Chi hiding his trauma throughout the whole episode, by the way, it really is proving to Chi and Bernadette that Bernadette, at least for now, until she does something stupid, who knows, is the right person for the job. I think Chi's sort of warming up to it now too, by the way.
I wonder if Chi is going to feel any pull to not go back to the res. He grew up in the city and that's basically his second home. So after being on the res for so long and then coming back to the city and being in the action and having problems with Bern and not being able to move up there, is he going to feel a pull to stay back with the FBI again or go back to the FBI?
I think he's sort of shown that he doesn't understand LA and the native people's connection or lack thereof to LA. I don't think he gets it. I don't think he ever really wanted to get it. I think having gone back to the res undercover, they mentioned it this episode, and switch sides, let's say, from trying to adapt, he found his place. He's trying to still find his place within the res too. And I say this only because the poignant scene he has with the lap dancer in the Carousel Gentlemen's Club.
Discreet entrance in rear. That cracked me up. So, yeah, it's very discreet with a big white sign on it saying discreet
that
rear
was
entrance.
The rear entrance. I don't know what the front looks like, but I thought it was very poignant because, and I actually got mad, by the way. You'd be very surprised given the fact that it was a Chi defender. I think it's when he didn't admit, A, that he loves her, Bernadette, to Bernadette. And earlier in the episode, he doesn't really answer her when she says, do you even want to get over this, to get to work through this? And then to this lap dancer, he's like, yeah, I love her. I don't want to mess this up. I got so mad. I'm like Bernadette with my hands on my hips now. You mother effer. And then I thought immediately about Joe and Emma, because it took you forever to really open up about these things. And then not until Sylvia Washington was coming over with her crew to toss the place that you finally tell Emma. So again, I'm mad too, but I've been trying my best. You know, I'm like trying my best. And then this happens. And it's very narrative. I like it. Oh, why can you tell? And it makes perfect sense. How many times have you met a stranger and you feel more comfortable telling them the truth because you're never going to see them again?
Well, that's why people go and talk to their bartenders and tell them everything.
I had to stop and think about that for it to make sense to me, because I got very invested in their relationship. And of course, I'm not trying not to show it. But then, given what she said, you were about to say, did they lie to protect you or did they lie to harm you? And then I felt immediately coming off of Chi's face that, because he's trying to be like, no, let's talk about something else. Don't you have a lap dance to, right? Because he's doing that because he's like, I feel stupid about the feelings that I have. And of course, he's not going to talk about the drama he's going through with his mom and all that stuff, which is exacerbating this situation. But when you say it out loud, why are you so mad, bro? It does sound stupid. And it took a stranger that is a lap dancer, that is of course, a psychology major, to expose that. Did you feel that also, that he felt a little dumb?
She does deal with the public on a very personal basis.
Stigma aside.
So, they were talking about Bernadette, but that also applies to Lee Porn. Joe lied to protect him. Why am I going to endanger you by telling you this illegal thing that I did? That puts you in harm's way and makes you an accomplice.
Plausible deniability, too. There's the lawman end of things, too.
I mean, if I don't tell you that I murdered somebody, then you can't testify about it because you don't know anything. Also protecting Joe, but protecting Chi because, again, he would be an accomplice.
Right.
So, which he is. He's made himself an accomplice now that he admits that he knows about it. Sometimes it takes somebody on the outside to open your eyes.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the things that you're thinking, to say them out loud and realize, yeah, that's dumb. What you're doing is dumb. You can't justify it sometimes. That's true. Your feelings.
Oh, and you could see it in his face until they got interrupted. He was like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Yes, exactly. And the whole him seeing her wheezing at the end, that whole thing, I do feel terrible. It allows me to give me a free runway to feel more terrible about that, actually. Him realizing that he's an idiot, but also realizing there's something bigger at play here with him that he still has to work through. It's upsetting and worrying. And now Sonny has a barrel of a gun to his face, basically saying, who are you?
So we should probably talk about the thing I put in Discord. The actor who plays Sonny Bearhart and Kiowa Gordon were in Twilight together.
Do you want to know what was really interesting? After you said that, I'm like, wait, some scenes with them together now make a lot more sense.
Bear in mind, I've never seen Twilight, so if there's anything going on there, I'm not going to get it.
Well, what I do know is that they were werewolves.
They were part of the werewolf gang or something.
Okay. Do you remember when they were sat down together and then he grabs him and he pulls him closer and he sniffs?
Yeah, I figured he was like sniffing for pig.
Maybe that's sort of what I was thinking as well. Like, or that maybe there's a mystical thing and he's trying to be like mystical Navajo.
When you said that thing about Rodeo Drive,
if you don't go with me, you could always try your hand at Rodeo Drive.
Right.
To be a male prostitute.
He was like, you like girls, right? Is he suspicious of him as a fed or is he suspicious of him as being gay? Because that's twice now. Again, I didn't catch that the first time until you said it. But now that you said it, I'm like, maybe he's, no judgment. But yeah, you were judging, bruh.
And it comes up twice in this episode in a way.
So maybe that's what he was suspicious of. But then I think the old lady talking to him when he went to see the guy, gave him the fast food. The lady was, I remember what happened with your mother. And
you cried, Shema, Shema. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The evidence for Sonny is stacking up against Mike Garcia, which I keep writing in my notes, quote unquote, Mike Garcia. Every time he's acting like Mike Garcia, I'm like, Mike Garcia's on the move. So in my notes, I do this thing where I should just, like, fair warning for anybody who does read my notes, I charge Sonny with being gay because he's so ready to joke with Mike about.
Could be.
But then later on in the episode, he mentions this whole thing about meeting a foxy chick. But when he says meeting the foxy chick or had a girl, let me just say what he says because it's so funny. He says he's delirious from the pain. He's half drunk. His eyes are closed. He's like, I had this girl friend. When I first got down here, she was real foxy, real tall Navajo. She ran away from home but called her mom almost every day. Must have spent a fortune on long distance. Pause. That's another thing kids do not know today unless they call somebody from a different country at this point. And even if they call somebody from a different country, they're doing it on the internet via Zoom or some crap. They're not doing it over the Ma Bell telephone.
I cannot tell you how much trouble I got when I was a kid for calling a friend. I think I had met him at like a chorus thing or something, and I was long distance to call that person, and I got in so much trouble. So much trouble.
Yeah, back in the day, there was long distance, and then there was long distance, right? And then there were the collect calls. People don't know what collect calls are. See, all the things you'll never know about children. They don't know what Ma Bell is. What is that?
When Billy is looking at the pictures, and she's like, I think that might be my mom. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, but that was like 30 years. Look how old that picture is. But then I had to remind myself, this is in the 70s. That's how pictures look then. That probably was not an old picture. It was probably, maybe a year or something like that. And
look at the picture of her and her grandpa.
Yeah.
It's black and white.
I was like, that's an old picture. That lady be dead by now. I'm like, wait a minute. This is
Maybe
set in the 70s.
great-grandmother.
My baby pictures look like that. My mom and dad's wedding pictures look like that with the white border. And
it's sort of halo-ish glow to the print because it was all overexposed or whatever. Oh my goodness. When he was talking about the foxy lady, so just to cap on it, maybe he's gay. I even have this theory in my notes about, okay, let me give you 2 wild rides. One is I was like, okay, maybe if he is gay, he's with Albert Gorman. Couldn't be with Leroy because Leroy is with that Val girl. I think her name is Val because of the phone book. They're staying in Leroy's place. This is how she knows where to go. So if Sonny's with anyone and he's gay, he's with Albert Gorman. And they both have the same rings. They're pinky rings, so they're not obviously wedding rings. And maybe not a Marine thing at all.
Maybe that was like when she kept asking for Leroy all night long. Where's Leroy? Where's Leroy? Maybe that was
enough about the Leroy. Blah, 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 blah. What about Albert? He doesn't say anything about Albert, but anyway.
We still haven't seen Leroy, so I'm still voting that he's Philip Grayson hanging out at the
I have this other flight of fancy, but the phone book kind of negates that. Just walk with me here. This is number 2. For a hot sec, I thought Sonny was Leroy. And I was trying to justify it in my mind how that makes sense, even though there's so many clear things that it doesn't make sense because Billy is at the party, Sonny's at the party. She would have definitely seen Sonny.
The age difference, too. Wide age difference.
Yeah, sure. But then it would be funny because then she would have been with Leroy the whole time. Like, oh, could have sworn it. I thought he was there. Okay, it's me. Hi. Anyway, it couldn't be because he's in the phone book. Why would he put himself in his own phone book?
When we were talking about Joe and Emma in the IHS, she says there's 4 other hospitals. Why did you come here? And he said they wouldn't take my CIB. So I had to look that up. It's a combat infantry badge, which you get if you see combat in war.
His was Korean.
I'm pretty sure if you go in and you flash it, you get...
It's like your VA card.
Right. I thought of Rachel when he was sewing up Sonny's arm because I was like, dude, she would be loving this part.
Yeah, like the blood oozing out of his wound.
The blood oozing out and all that, yeah. You can see where it had gone through his arm and was bleeding on both sides. But, Chi, walk your booty down to a payphone or something, man. Don't stand in the apartment and make that call. And the other thing, he's like, Sonny. Dude, you gotta be like, Sonny. You know what I mean?
Well, I think he did that so he knew, okay, if I'm back there, I'm going to speak at the volume here so that he wouldn't hear me back there. Because why would you want to go out to the payphone? It's like a nightmare. You'd have to find the payphone. It wouldn't be that far back in the day.
Back in the 70s, they were everywhere. Yeah, exactly. Don't be where the guy that is the bad guy is. Don't stand there and talk about your plans.
That means he'd have to take the phone book out of or have to write things down, and then you have to wait.
Bro,
it just makes more sense.
You think he couldn't remember an address?
Maybe.
I can remember the dang address.
We don't have information on whether his memory's that good. Obviously, he can't remember his own girlfriend
he's
until...
a detective. Ugh.
Then he takes off his glasses. Maybe you're right. I was just thinking it's just easier. And if he's passed out dead drunk, I wouldn't be worried about it.
That is just not a chance that I would want to take doing what I'm doing. Because he obviously found Chi at the apartment. So he had to know where Chi went. And how did he know where Chi went? Because Chi didn't leave the book open or anything. He shut the book. So how did he know where he was going?
I thought about that for a little bit. And then given the fact that he mentions Leroy yet again, I think that's his next.
He could have been like, oh, he just went home or whatever, or he went back to his whatever. He went out and hit the street. What? Because he's not going to just stay in my house while I'm sitting here. So, like, I don't think that he would have been like, I'm going straight over there. I think he heard him because he was dumb and he said it right there while the guy was laying 20 feet away.
I think it might not have anything to do with that. If you really think about all the heat this guy's under right now, McNair, that's what I'm talking about. He could have easily have placed the call to Sonny. First of all, Sonny's in bad shape. That he bothered to put whatever it is on and put himself together. Probably take a bunch of drugs too to keep him spry. I think he got a call from McNair. And I think that's what made him sprint on over to Leroy's place to finally take care of business and see if he's there. Because I don't think he's looking for Mike necessarily. I think he was visiting Leroy's place.
I think he 100% was super suspicious after the lady talked to him.
See, it would make more sense for him to pull a gun out when he's finally there. Because let's say he wasn't looking for Mike. He was looking for Leroy, let's say. And he finds Mike there unexpectedly. Who the F are you? How did you know he was there?
Why would he get up after being shot and change clothes and drag himself over there if he was looking for Leroy?
That's my point, is that he wouldn't.
I think he heard Chi talking about it, and that's why he went there.
Mm.
Because he wasn't there for long. He went straight there, and he was there, 15 minutes before?
That's the other thing. Chi's going through this hallucinatory thing, and then time is slowing down because of this hallucinatory thing. It's the same feeling I got in the bathroom. He's throwing up his guts all over the place like a fire hose. But then when Bernadette gets there, it's like it happened so fast. He's looking around, nothing happened. They're like, wait, what happened? If you look at the end of the episode where he's pulled out of the hallucinatory scene of him watching his mom wheezing under a blanket, meanwhile, she's probably dead in real life. She was dead at the time when he was flashing back to that moment. He's suddenly pulled out of the hallucination onto a bed, and it's less light out too. We don't know how long he's been in this state. So you're not really sure what's happening either. One thing's for sure.
Well, guess we'll find out, because you were right about the feds last week. That
I was going to mention
wrong.
it, yeah.
Yeah. And also, you were right about what's his name being a cop, and I thought he was like a Hollywood executive. But I mean, like, you see how nice his house was up in the hills?
I know. That's what made me pause, is when you said, oh, he's obviously out in the hills, which could be something interesting too, because what if he was on the pay?
Sonny's got a really nice house for...
Sort of.
Yeah.
Right? Because, well, he loves lava lamps. Let me put it that way.
Yes, he does. And he has a cute little television with tinfoil on the rabbit ears sitting there next to the lava lamps. Whoever is doing the set decoration for them being in LA, because, on the reservation, it's all Native American stuff. You're in the 70s, but it's not really in the 70s. But here in LA, boy, you are in the 70s. And I love the set decor. They have done fantastically with the set decor.
I mean, there's no shortage of junk you can get from the time that has been repurposed over and over again, because everybody loves mid-century modern and all that stuff.
I think when they went into Val's apartment, maybe, there was a chair sitting back there that looked just like Martin's chair from Frasier. It was this ugly orange and green striped. It looked a little cleaner, but yeah, there's a distinct lack of shag carpeting going on. But otherwise...
Give it time.
Yeah.
That actually brings me right back to, well, maybe we're here anyway, because we're talking about apartments. Upchurch, the cop who was murdered in the beginning of the last episode. Because I wanted to go back to the gay panic thing, because we see a shoebox of a gentleman's shoes. Definitely bigger than Upchurch's, because they're definitely bigger than Shaw's. Shaw is the agent with the mustache who takes him to the scene of the crime, because he mentions the green Dodge van. Not Volkswagen, by the way. Just want to correct that. I assume Volkswagen because she's German. So like, oh, she's a token German who likes everything German. So what does that assume? Upchurch, given what we saw in the last episode, which was, it's so sad. He only has photos of he and his dog. He has a shoebox full of shoes from a gentleman that is not him. And so you're thinking, oh, he can't display photos of he and his boyfriend, would be effectively. And is the boyfriend Shaw too? I only thought of that as we were getting on. I'm like, wait, maybe. Shaw's into bowling, popping antacids all the time because maybe he's afraid people will find out that he's gay.
Hey, I mean, that was the thing in the 70s.
Let's
Very
put that in the
closeted.
file, in the
Mhm.
filing cabinet where the other guys are. Shaw mentions that the case was Upchurch's until he was mysteriously committing suicide. Burns says notably, what is the truth that's on the board, right? The truth dies with me. Obviously, Irene knows what that is. That could be him being gay. Who knows? It could be McNair. It could be a bunch of things. Shaw says, I don't know.
Well, I mean, he's a witness, so I'm guessing it's whatever he was witness to. The truth dies with me because I witnessed this and now I'm dying and I can't tell anybody else about it.
I'd written in my notes that maybe it's less about the truth and more about, hey, I failed. This case is going to fall apart because I am killing myself. But yeah, that doesn't sound right. It sounds to me more right that, follow me here, if Shaw is Upchurch's boyfriend, if he spray paints on the wall a sort of not real message to Shaw, who's getting the case. And how does she know this? I have no idea. Let's just put that aside. She simultaneously kills Upchurch and sends a message to the next cop, which she is assuming is going to be Shaw, saying, the truth dies with me. You don't have to worry about me telling your secret. But it's not really Upchurch. It's really a message from the killer. It's, yeah, you don't have to worry about the secret. I know that you two are dating or with each other. It's a stretch, but it's interesting if it's true. Assuring that the case goes nowhere when it passes on to the next cop, because it's not going to go nowhere. It's ongoing. The guy's in the prison cell right now. Or maybe the whole FBI is in on it in some form or fashion. That thought had occurred to me that maybe there's a man on the inside.
Now that we're talking about Irene for a second.
Mm-hmm.
So those can opening keys are not that rare. He's like, they're used to open ration cans. Yeah, they're also used to open spam and sardines, especially in the 70s. Those were not rare items to find. And I also have issue with him digging around in the dirt in a random spot because they're like, yeah, the van was parked there, but that's a big road. There's a lot of there. And he just walks to the straight right spot and sticks his hand in the dirt for 5 seconds and then pulls out this not rare item, and then this is all the proof they need to connect. Whatever. Okay,
I don't think it is.
It's a story. Remember in Game of Thrones when Daenerys got taken by the Dothraki in season 6, dropped her ring in the grass in the middle of this huge valley in the mountains where she'd been with Drogon, and then Jorah and Dario Naharis are looking for her, and they just find this ring laying out in the middle of this huge valley. No, like that's ridiculous. Maybe like a montage of them looking or something. But for him to just walk right to that spot and stick his hand in there and dig and then find it, I was like, come on.
I don't think that's the weird part. The weird part isn't the finding it. I wouldn't say it's weird yet even, but it's saying, okay, I think we're on to something is really the point. Not the whole that there's actual proof. Meaning Shaw was ready to say, who cares? There was a van parked the night of his murder. That could have been anybody. But given the fact that there's maybe something to go off of, maybe we can sniff more. But it's enough for him to continue down the path of saying, okay, maybe I shouldn't dismiss this van. Maybe there's something to that. Let's keep sniffing.
I mean, I get that.
That's all it means.
But what I'm saying is the fact that Joe just walked to this one spot and stuck his hand in the dirt and found this thing that they could use to connect the van or whatever. Okay, remember Better Call Saul when Mike was out looking for the guy who died, who was murdered in the hills or whatever, and he dug holes and they showed a montage of him digging holes before he found it. Show us a montage of Joe looking for a few minutes instead of just walking straight to the right spot and finding this thing like he knew it was there. Bring a metal detector or something. It was silly. It was just
I think
silly.
they're also establishing that he's sort of out of place too. That, and I don't know, maybe if this is tokenism, they're like, oh, he's obviously a tracker. He has tracking skills. But maybe they did leave some groundwork when they showed the initial scene of him tracking the buck. See, like, why would that be true if we didn't see a scene of him doing that? So I don't know, there's something to it.
Because the buck is supposed to signify something to him.
Two things can be true.
But Dave, just agree
Listen,
with me
he
that it was
mentions the
silly.
bowling club. She mentions, oh God, I spent 2 years hearing about his dumb bowling. And then later on he mentions, oh, I know about the shoe size of Upchurch because I borrowed his shoes once when we were bowling. See, everything is useful.
It was silly when he found the key on the res, and it's even sillier that he finds it here. I'm sorry. I'm going to die on that hill.
Sure, I think it's silly too. I think it also says something else. They sort of mention this without mentioning this when Shaw doesn't apologize for messing Joe up. He basically says, this case is big. I was just handed it. Later on, he says this, and it has us all on edge. But what he doesn't say is, hey, because you found this key, I'm desperate and I'll follow anything at this point. because they have nothing now. All their witnesses are dying or misremembering everything because people are dying. I think at this point, he's willing to shake anything that leads them to any tree that they can shake to shake up any evidence on who's killing these people so that maybe they can get to them so that they can flip on McNair. And if it gets Joe, their woman that's killing all the people in the res, all the better to find Billy.
Cheese hotel room, his key number was 32 or 37, I think.
I forgot.
He says Leaphorn's is 21, and Bernadette is right next to Leaphorn.
Right, yeah.
So that means Chi is like on a different floor. He distanced himself as much as he possibly could from them.
And it makes sense. Meet me there. It'd be funnier if they were staying at a different motel.
Yeah, I think it's pretty telling that they're not even staying in the same room.
Yeah, I think so too.
Joe knows they're together. Who would they be hiding it from?
But then let's be realistic also. It was more upsetting that they weren't in the same room. It's less strange to not have a room next to the other if there's a bunch of people there. Yeah. Oh, okay. Joe, do you want to take the one that's downstairs? No, she'll be like, oh, I'll take it.
I mean, that's exactly it. If they had their choice of rooms and he could have stayed next to Bernadette and he didn't. And they didn't stay in the same room.
See, we never got to talk about this. I was like, yeah, why aren't they staying in the same rooms? You know why, but it's like, why is that enough to make them not want to stay? Every choice gives you the temperature of how hard this has hit Chi.
When he was telling Sonny the fake story of his mom,
or the real
that
fake.
was 100%, except the lie that he was in Vietnam, was 100% the story of his mom. But where was he? Was he in the FBI academy or something? And could he have come back and he decided not to? Because obviously he's got some deep-seated guilt going on. That's what this is.
I think also that he was a rising star too. They obviously put him on some interesting cases. He was obviously away for long periods of time. He didn't check in as often. He does mention, there's a little more information that at least we're not speculating on, is that he said to Sonny, or divulged to Sonny, that before she died, she did definitely want to go back to the res. And so maybe that's part of what's going on here.
She died in an apartment, and I'm like, man, that's got to really suck for the Death Hogan aspect, because your landlord's not going to want you cutting a hole in your north wall to let the spirit out. So what happens then? Do you have to move? Or
do you have to open a window? I think probably. I would say, though, that it is somewhat interesting to know that he is having flashbacks of his mom on the floor with the blanket on her already. Okay, two possibilities is that she was murdered. The other possibility is, this is the sad one, she was dying, nobody was coming for her, and she didn't want to be left uncovered, so she covered herself.
That's kind of what I got, is that he found her
alone,
already covered. Maybe she felt as she was dying, she's like, nobody's going to wrap me, so I have to wrap myself, and this is the best I can do.
She has to do the rings, the shoes, she has to do it all herself. She was barefoot in his vision. I do remember that.
Maybe he knew, or he was there, because the lady was like, I know what you did. I could hear you calling mom.
Yeah.
So maybe he was there, and like he just freaked out so bad he couldn't deal with it, so he just left her. Or maybe it's a wild swing. Maybe he put her out of her misery.
So that thought flirted with me. Like, remember that dumb thought I had before we started the show? Sort of like that.
If you watch somebody suffering and there's nothing you can do, look, she's going to die anyway. She's actively dying.
She's suffering. She can't even breathe anymore.
Why let her go on like that?
The old lady does say, I know what you did.
He's in the FBI. Who's going to investigate him? And his mom had cancer. Maybe that's where the guilt is coming in.
Yeah, we're dancing around it. That she, in her own way, was a liability. She was getting in the way of what he was striving to do.
I mean, maybe that a little bit, but also, like, you don't want to watch your mom suffer.
Obviously.
I mean, yes, it could be partly that I'm here wasting my time when I could be off doing something that I need to do, like making a name for myself, whatever. But also, I don't want to watch my mom suffer like this.
It's the whole Joe living in two worlds. Why it's similar.
Then he couldn't wrap her because they would have been like, you were here?
Oh, so maybe he's seeing her wrapped.
Maybe that's why she's just covered with a blanket instead of wrapped in the traditional manner, because he's like, I showed up and she was already dead or whatever.
Interesting swing. I'll say that much. Not saying I agree, but I'm saying I'm definitely on board if that's the case. Like, wow. Equally sad.
I mean, like I said, he's obviously got some guilt going on there.
Yeah. It feels like it's more than just guilt from not being there. And look, we get a good look of what he thinks his wound looks like, because I'm not 100% convinced at all that that's what it is.
That is blood poisoning. He would be dying.
Right. Little veiny strands underneath his skin. And
that's blood poisoning.
and
He would be
blood-soaked-
dead. I think the whole thing is psychosomatic. Maybe he scratched himself when he went in, but this big gaping open wound, that is all in his imagination.
And isn't he doing the same thing that they did to him by not being forthcoming about his suffering? Isn't he doing the same thing Joe did to Emma? He was suffering, keeping this a secret.
Is he lying to protect them or lying to hurt them?
See, I don't know. The fact that I can't answer that is a big deal. And protect them from what? If it is protection, what are they protecting him from? The truth? Like, oh, I'm not a big deal. Don't worry about me. I don't think so. I think he's protecting himself. They're going to think I'm crazy.
He's just like Joe.
Mm.
Joe who won't go get an x-ray, which I mean, I could see before when he didn't realize that he was imagining things, but now he's kind of had a taste of that. Of course, I'm speaking from present day thinking. Back in the 70s, you didn't go to therapy, especially if you were a man's man. That would be something that would hurt his career at that time.
It probably still would, but not nearly as badly.
Right. Well, it wouldn't completely destroy his career. He would get treatment or whatever. So I can see also maybe why he didn't go get help. But you also have to get help because you're going crazy, destroying all of your relationships.
Good point. Side note, in addition to seeing all of that craziness, for the first time, she winces as they're leaving the FBI meeting that they just had with Shaw and Wells. He winces at the bottom of the stairs. Byrne sees it. So now she actually knows what's going on, or something else that's going on with him that he's not telling.
Why don't you go get an x-ray?
Exactly. Same spot, right? Maybe, I think, yeah.
Same spot, but opposite side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Show don't tell, but it's a little bit too much show.
They were right there at IHS. He knows Emma. He could have gone and talked to Emma, and Emma wouldn't have said anything. You know what I mean?
You're giving a lot more ammunition to the theory that he did something wrong and he deserves to die for it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean,
you and I know because we're the person on the outside. We can look at it and say, if that's what happened, I understand why you did it. But him from the inside, all he can see is the guilt. And it doesn't matter how much you tell yourself I did the right thing. When you have a pet and you have to take your pet to be put down, and you're doing it because it's the right thing for them because they're suffering. I had a dog I loved more than anything, and she had bone cancer in her paw. They could have done an amputation, but she was too old. She was like 13. I felt so guilty about taking her to have her put down. But when I took her to the vet the first time, and they were like, you're going to have to do it. And I was like, well, let me take her home for a week. 2 days later, I took her back because she laid in her spot that she liked to lay in. And she just laid out there and just cried and cried and cried. And I couldn't stand it anymore. But I still felt so guilty about doing it, even though it was the best thing to do.
And Tucci's point, trying to imagine how other people would take that news were it to be true, especially people in the law.
Given how he reacted to Joe, he would be like, the Joe would react like that with me.
Asshole. Wow. Yeah, I get what you're going through. Oh, okay. Now I would definitely love for what you're saying to be true, because that would make so much more narrative sense in terms of a direct parallel.
I mean, I'm just speculating, but
okay. No, I'm into it.
It seems like, why else would he be so absolutely guilty about it? We'll see.
Okay, let's mention one more thing about Chi, because I don't think it's going to come up in natural conversation. On the drive with Sonny Bearhart, part of his story he mentions is that he's Hopi.
Sonny said Hopi, and he's like, no, Navajo.
No, I think what he said was that he was Hopi. It makes more sense when you look it up. So Hopi Res is within Navajo country. Let me explain first, and then we'll go on to what Sonny says in response to that. Hopi and the Dene are distinct, separate nations with different languages, cultures, and origins, despite the Hopi reservation being completely surrounded by Navajo Nation land. The Hopi are ancient, sedentary farmers, while the Dene are descendants of the Athabascan-speaking groups who arrived later in the Southwest. So technically, the Hopi were there first, before the Dene. By the way, I was also corrected in one of the comments to one of our clips. Do you know how some people pronounce Oregon, Oregon? Mm-hmm. And Nevada, Nevada? Mm-hmm. It's the same with Navajo. It's Navajo.
In Young Guns, the movie, Lou Diamond Phillips is a Navajo. One of the guys calls him Navajo all the time, and I took that as an insult because he was like, Navajo, doing it to be a jerk. So that's why I always took that was the wrong pronunciation.
Quite the opposite. So what you're saying is Lou Diamond Phillips was hipster Zahn McLaren?
Now I want to go watch Young Guns again.
By the way, Lou Diamond Phillips, first of all, took all the Navajo roles from back in the day because he was in a early iteration of The Dark Wind. I have to look into this further. The movie was called The Dark Wind. It was off Hillerman's novel. We'll look into it more at a different time, but I thought that was interesting mention, since you did mention Lou Diamond Phillips, who is incredible, by the way.
Still going strong too, buddy.
Yeah, no kidding. Directed an episode of Fear the Walking Dead, if you remember. Anyway, the key differences between the Hopi and Dene, origins and culture. The Hopi people, known as the peaceful people, quote unquote, have lived on their Arizona mesas for thousands of years, making them one of the oldest living cultures in the world. The Dene, meaning the people, quote unquote, migrated from the north, arriving in the region centuries later. The Hopi language is part of the Uto-Aztecan language family, while the Navajo language is Athabascan. This is going to make more sense when he was saying you don't understand Navajo, but I'm sure Hopi people do speak Navajo because of necessity.
So are the Hopis the ones that have their dwellings in the cliffs?
Maybe we'll get to it. Hold on a second. Historically, the Hopi are dry farmers, quote unquote, who lived in permanent stone and mortar villages on top of mesas.
I was talking about the Native
The
Americans
cliffside ones?
that built their homes in the cliffs.
So it says here the Navajo/Dene were historically more nomadic, engaging in hunting and gathering before becoming sheep herders and adopting agricultural practices. Distinctly different situation. Government and society. The Hopi operate through an autonomous village-based structure led by religious leaders, whereas the Navajo Nation uses a more centralized government. Location and geography. The Hopi Reservation is located 3 mesas within the massive 16 million acre Navajo Reservation.
It's Puebloans that I was thinking of.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Relationship and land issues. Due to the Navajo Nation's expansion in the 19th and 20th centuries, the Navajo territory grew to surround the smaller Hopi Reservation. While they share a region, they have historically had distinct identities, leading to past land disputes and differences in traditional practices, such as the Navajos that differ from the Hopis. So let me recap what was said for it to make more sense.
Where is he from? Hopi?
Navajo.
Right. The other one.
This is what I took from it. He mentions that he's Hopi, the other native peoples, not the Navajo from the greater 16 million acre region, the res within a res. So that's why he says what he says.
Their own little Vatican City.
Exactly, in a way, yeah, which would be more apt because the Hopi have been there for way longer. And they're not nomadic. They kind of been there the whole time. Case in point, the Navajo were not always there either. They came in from the north. Oh my God, my notes on Sonny and Albert being a couple. So the German woman wouldn't know to move Ashley's ring because it was already on Albert's pinky. Sonny laughs awfully uncomfortably, and the scene lasts way too long, laughing about, are you gay? That's weird. Okay, let me mention this. The show did something really cool cinematically with Irene Vaughan. She's in basically 2 scenes in this episode. One is obviously her spying on Joe finding the ration key. So she knows and she smiles, her little smile, whatever. But she has another smile in this episode, another scene. As she comes into the Indian Center, I noticed an interesting fact. Remember how she was saying how she and Joe are diametrically opposed forces? So when she walks into the center, the camera angle is from the vantage point. Do you remember where they were taking the photos near the door on the other side? The camera's situated there. When Joe Bernadette and she come in, the camera's on the opposite side of the room looking at the spot where they're filming currently. So they're diametrically filmed in different angles.
Cool.
So I thought that was a really cool visual element.
And the receptionist was just as friendly and helpful as she was for Joe and
Okay, now that we've gotten the vantage point conversation out of the way, because I thought that was something cool that made me happy. I'm like, oh, I noticed something cool that they were trying to tell us visually. Let me just tell you what I said in my notes about that woman. Here's how it goes down. She heads to our very unhelpful reception lady. Wait for it. I'm looking for a teenage girl. Weird pause. Because you think, no, you're calling the cops now. Billy Sosi. Then she says Billy Sosi. There's a pause between I'm looking for a teenage girl and then Billy Sosi. My notes verbatim because it has the full range of emotion. Then unhelpful lady, rather than tell the German woman to go F herself, says, I haven't seen her. No, you say, what are you talking about? And then while she leaves, you call the cops. Okay, wait. Sure, who knows if she didn't call the cops later? I'm banking she doesn't because watch what happens next. Then she says, check with the Navajo tribal. I can't even say it. Then check with the Navajo tribal police. This lady is the worst.
She's the equivalent of the gas station guy on the res.
No, he was pleasant. He was amusing. This was infuriating. Calm down, Dave. She's in the Indian Center. She's there for the Indian. And she clearly isn't. German woman walks in and sounding like a German. Says, "Where's your teenage girls?" She goes, "I don't know. Talk to the Navajo police. Not my problem." What are you talking? It's everything you're supposed to. It's your problem. You're the reception for the problem. I'm so annoyed. It's a rare white elk to see me this annoyed. So enjoy it. Lap it up. There's no defense for this woman other than you can say, oh, mediocrity is timeless.
Well, she's overworked, underpaid, and overwhelmed, and just like, here, just get out of my face, lady.
Yeah, maybe, but
take this, you white devil, and get out of here.
God, she gave the white devil all the info she needed. So,
well, she did tell her to go look for the police.
With respect to that, she was very helpful. She was very
go
helpful.
ask the police.
She was the most helpful to the devil lady. Great job. She did her job to the utmost for the wrong people. Literally the opposite people. So anyway, I actually had more to say about that. Suspenseful music, when the German lady finds out this information, proves that this lady is the absolute worst. It doesn't do what it means to do. It's actually painting the receptionist as the evil villain, not the German lady. So the German woman cracks a slight smile knowing her boyfriend is around. Like, oh, I get to meet my boyfriend again. He's not just a pipe dream.
The weirdest dynamic.
Is it weird that I kind of want her to win? Okay, it is weird.
Yes.
Never mind. Listen,
yes.
Joe, Emma's not an Avenue anymore. Try the German lady. She's really into you. I'm not. It's okay. Listen, it's fiction. That's why I have this comfortable position of being okay with it. Oh, well, there's the big reveal. Val walks into the apartment as Billy. First of all, Billy, she's the worst. But she's also like sympathetically the worst. She's like, well, let's dig into Val's apartment and find out what I can find. This woman is caring enough for you to take you in because you're being a snoop and you're going to get yourself killed. Let's just look through her whole apartment and all of her stuff.
She was bored.
Yeah, I get it.
These kids didn't have phones to sit on the couch and scroll through. They had to find something to do.
Yep, she is a hipster doom scroller by looting apartments. But to her point, if she didn't loot through those apartments, we wouldn't know the truth. And she found out the truth that her mom is still alive and with her grandmother, or maybe her mother's grandmother, which is interesting because that means a whole side of her family schismed from the grandfather. There's a whole lot here because she says something very notable. Oh, my mother died at childbirth and we never knew my father. But what if they did know that her mother had a tryst with, maybe it was a white man? I'm making up a story in my head, but what would be big enough to cause a schism in the family?
Or it could have been that this is all tied up and they've been in trouble for years and they had to separate her so that she wouldn't be bound up in the trouble.
Billy,
like her mom was in trouble or something and they didn't want her wrapped up in it. So they sent her out to be safe with her grandfather.
To your point, this was mentioned errantly in the last episode. Sonny says to Mike Garcia, he says, relocation to LA? No, he says no. But that was not a nothing thing that he said. Relocation. What if her mom was relocated somehow and that she wanted her daughter to be on the res? Maybe.
What if Billy is McNair's daughter?
Oh, well, what a twist. Well, and it would make him looking for her, meaning to kill her, terrible.
Because mom knew she was wrapped up in some bad stuff. So to keep her safe, mom sent her out to stay with grandpa on the res.
So that he would never find out about her. And then that would explain why Leroy's taking care of her. Leroy and Albert maybe under McNair. And then McNair would never know about Billy. Okay. Well, that's not a bad theory. And it would make it so that Billy would never look for her mom too. And that she would,
or
that's
her
heartbreaking.
dad.
And to never know about your daughter, to never know your daughter. Maybe? I don't know.
Better to know she's alive than...
True. You have to think what would be so bad that she could never visit her daughter again.
This McNair dude seems to be pretty bad news. He's got the wherewithal to be having people executed all over the place.
And who knows how long he's been doing business. So part of the FBI meeting with Joe and everybody reveals the nature of this guy, McNair. Well, they mentioned also that this was a McNair party. It's like, who's McNair? We don't know. But Joe now knows that this is McNair, blah, blah, blah. So he's getting more information the more he's getting kicked. Well, let me mention what they say in the meeting. McNair is an importer-exporter, quote unquote, right? Which really is code for smuggler.
Drug runner.
Drug runner, smuggler,
Yeah.
whatever, down in San Pedro. They got a tip last year. Again, who knows how long this has been the case?
This could be tied in with the drug case that Byrne was dealing with last season.
Wouldn't that be wonderful, too? We keep wanting there to be more connective tissue. And then what if it leads back to BJ Vines?
That's why we need to write these shows.
So they got the tip last year that he was smuggling. And 2 months ago, they had enough evidence to arrest him, which is what they did. And that's why he's in that holding cell. I mention this only because it's like they don't know how deep the well goes with this guy. If, in fact, he's been doing this for 16 years. How old is Billy? 16. She's like a 16-year-old. Yeah. Maybe this is a family business. Oh, okay. Interesting name drop. And I don't know what it means, but maybe you have more on this. So while Joe is being kicked in the back of the surveillance van, he mentions, did Benno put you up to this? To Joe? And Joe goes, I don't know any Benno. Who is Benno? What is Benno?
I have no idea.
You can't just say things and it not mean something later or down the... Although you could, I'm sure. Fine. But it's a weird, really odd name.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like some silly made up. I don't know. I don't think that meant anything. I could be wrong. They needed to have something to say there. Of course, we thought that in Breaking Bad, did Ignacio send you? Wasn't going to mean anything. And look what happened there.
And then they made it into a whole story, right?
I think I said that backwards, though. Did Lalo send you? It wasn't me. It was Ignacio.
Yeah, that's right.
But
that's right.
Same principle.
Same idea. I just thought we should put it out there. Maybe you knew something I didn't or whatever.
No. I caught that name, but it didn't even register as anything important to me.
You know what I should have looked up is whether nosebleeds are a stress response. Nosebleeds can be influenced by stress, but they are not directly caused by it. Stress may lead to behaviors or health conditions that trigger nosebleeds, such as increased blood pressure or habits like nose picking. Damn nose picker. While anxiety may not frequently cause nosebleeds, bodily stress related to anxiety. So, okay, maybe bodily stress combined with anxiety or stress can be a contributing factor. If you notice nosebleed during stressful times, it is possible that stress could be a factor. However, there is no solid evidence that stress directly caused nosebleeds. It is more likely to increase the risk indirectly. Okay, so something would have had to cause that to have caused stress to cause the nosebleed, which kind of makes sense, actually.
Ancestry.com says that the name Benno is of Hebrew origin and it means son.
Oh, Ben something is son. Yeah, okay.
Adapted as a diminutive of Benedict, and notably Saint Benno, a bishop in the 11th century. His influential role in promoting education in the arts made his name a beacon of inspiration for many. Going
back to the revelation that Billy's mom is alive, it's the last place that Val thought they should look because Leroy might be there, which means, because I'm rooting for you, that Philip Grayson is Leroy, but it's seemingly starting to be the case that it's not.
I don't know. I haven't seen any.
You're not giving up.
Evidence to the contrary.
Point taken. But I will note that when this revelation takes place, you have to consider the ramifications, because in the photo is not just Val on the right of the old lady that's in the middle, and then her mom. You have to realize that Val is important enough to Leroy to, again, there's some mirroring going on because Val is living with Leroy. They're not married. She, episodes earlier, asked Bernadette if they want to move in together. Of course, that's not happening now, but there's a little bit of footprints here. There's a little bit of fingerprints here that of mirroring.
The mom looks like Billy a lot in that photo.
Really, yeah.
Like she really strongly resembles her.
Which is why she felt so strongly about the fact that that's her mom too. No, it's Leroy's aunt. Oh, see, that's like the I'm so happy for you. That hurt. Oh, that's Leroy's aunt. So she's been alive this whole time. And I've been stuck in the Catholic schools alone. So that's a big pill to swallow.
I guess they thought she'd be safer there, but
right. Nobody considered. Oh, I did have just an errant thought when Irene is there looking on with her binoculars at Joe picking up the ration key, and she does a little smile, then a little frown, then she walks away. So a thought dawned on me that by now, as cool as her Dodge van is with her little shelves that she can pull aside to show a ninja assortment of killing instruments, at this point, she either has to change the color or ditch the van completely. I would be on her side for not ditching the van because it is so cool and iconic looking. But on the other hand, like we had mentioned in the last episode, she's hurting for money. There's only so much that she can do. Unless she's going to start getting into Grand Theft Auto.
And now it's got a broken window and a broken mirror to make it stand out just a little bit more.
She's coming untethered is what she is. Just like Chi. Oh, maybe there's a parallel there. She's looking in the wrong place.
If my thought about Chi is correct, then he went through with taking out his mom, and she can't go through with taking out her grandfather.
Oh.
But again, that's all speculation because
and then there's the connective tissue to B. Senna and Gordo Senna and that whole relationship too, but whatever.
I'm going to be very disappointed if we don't see her again in this season. That was the only time we saw her.
I mean, we might on the way back. Like I said, it's a bookend thing. You don't
get Linda Hamilton just for that. Sorry.
Well, she also played a minor role in, not a minor role, but like you didn't see her as often as you'd liked to in the final season of Stranger Things. You would have thought she would have featured more prominently, but there's two things we have to make note of in this show. Something that we haven't really talked about extensively at all, but in almost every episode where we're in LA, which is the 2, obviously, Joe is leaving the breadcrumb of when he leaves his room, he makes sure it's not being tampered with by leaving that little piece of paper. Yep. That hasn't borne fruit yet in these 2 episodes, which is interesting to leave that kind of breadcrumb because it's called payoff.
Oh, I am like 1,000% sure it's going to be Irene breaking into his room.
Sure, obviously. Yeah. But is she smart enough to see the piece of paper and know that that's the thing? I think she is smart enough to know that, that was there so that it wouldn't be tampered with.
See, James Bond was smart enough to use a hair that he just stuck across the door so when it opened, the hair would be gone.
Only I would know that it's gone.
But maybe Joe hasn't watched any James Bond movies.
Yeah. Well, there's only a few that came out around then.
Yeah, I'm going to say there might have been 2 out by then.
2 or 3.
I think the first one was in 68, and then they did maybe 1 in 60. So maybe 2 or 3 movies are out by then. It'd be Dr. No, From Russia with Love, and Thunderball, I think, was the third one.
You know what?
No, Goldfinger was the third one.
Dr. No in 62, Russia with Love 63. Okay, there's more. Goldfinger 64. You got them all 3 right. Thunderball in 65.
Yep.
You only lived twice in 67.
Damn it, you didn't let me guess.
Oh, okay. There's a lot more. Yeah. There's so much more than you think. Let's just mention the ones that are relevant to the thing. Number 1 is Dr. No 62, Russia with Love 63, Goldfinger 64, Thunderball 65. You only lived twice 67. That's already 5 James Bond movies that he could have lifted that off of. On Her Majesty's Secret Service 69, Diamonds Are Forever 71. That's it before 72, which is what we're currently in. Live and Let Die 73, so which is Roger Moore. Lazenby, by the way, is my father-in-law's favorite Bond, I think.
He was only in 1 movie.
I know.
I think the movie where he did that was the hair was You Only Live Twice, so he would have been able to see that one.
There you go, 67.
Yeah. At one time, I was a huge Bond fan, and I knew all of the movies. I knew all of the people in them. I knew what order. I knew all that stuff, but that was a long time ago, and I do not remember all that stuff now.
Oh, okay. Well, the reason why Leroy left because they got into a fight. Val and he usually calls, but hasn't. So that's interesting.
Yeah. There's no effing phone out there on the reservation.
In that
out
basin.
there in the Airstream. We're watching a show set in the 70s, and I legitimately forget that people don't have cell phones. For that instant, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, he could call no, he can't call. There's no cell phone out there he would have to go to somewhere that had a payphone on the reservation in order to call somebody.
Right. And so when Joe gets kicked out of the surveillance van, he has to walk all night to figure out he doesn't know where he is, A. B, he's in a place he's never been before. See, it's even worse than Chi going, meet you there. Especially after having that conversation about meet you there is code for FU. I felt for Joe. We're probably walking all night until he made it to the IHS in the morning, maybe. Can't spare the resources is something that was said both on the res and both by the FBI. Both were said by FBI. Well, and then Joe says this also, can't spare the resources to look for Billy, but then they do it anyway when she runs away, right? Making them come after her. We forgot to mention the fact that both Chi and Billy are having dramas about mothers. Chi is going through a very severe drama about finding his mom dead and who knows what else. The Navajo lady says to Mike, I remember you calling out, Shema, Shema, Shema. Sonny asks, what the F? And Mike says, she's crazy. I even say a lot of references to his mom today. And then the scene switches to Billy, who cleans up after her own fried chicken because Billy needs to find out that she's alive now. So it's like right after the scene with the old lady is like she finds out about her mom.
It's cool.
And then what was the other narrative element that I wanted to... Oh, yeah, the shoebox. Both Chi and Billy look through the shoebox full of photos, but that shoebox with the shoes in it
Mhm.
with the bigger shoe size. That's like another, big reveal. Upchurch may have been gay. That's like a whole other like twist to the story, and how that factors into both. Obviously, Billy's factors in way more into the bigger story, but how Agent Kenneth Upchurch being secretly gay, how does that factor in? Did somebody have a hold over him? Is that why the case never progressed? That could be a whole other story. We don't know the extent to which that played a hand in how that drama went down. And then it coming up infrequently in the show by way of Sonny having the gay panic come up. And like, I think that's more than one occasion that he's mentioned. Like in the last episode, I think it was mentioned also something to the effect of, you're into ladies, right? It's interesting that that's coming up a lot more as if to prep you for something. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after these messages. We just thought we'd remind you to show this episode some love by tapping that like button, if there's one to be tapped, subscribing to our podcast or channel, and if available, enabling all notifications, and sharing the show, or clips of it, with everyone you know. And don't be afraid to reach out. Leave your questions, feedback, ideas, or even concerns in the comment section. There isn't one? Head on over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking and leave your thoughts there. Rating our podcast is the best way to get our attention because it also boosts our visibility. And we'll probably address it in the next episode too. And if you think there's something to what we're doing here at Squawking Dead, tip us over on Ko-fi. As a token of our appreciation, you'll receive forever access to our Discord, along with 30 days access to our uncut episode and interview recordings, plus our pre-squawk insights. Take your support further. Join a membership tier on either ko-fi.com/squawkingdead or patreon.com/squawkingdead, and you'll unlock access to more channels on our Discord server, receive shoutouts at the end of every episode, and depending on what tier you join, the ability to join us on camera and mic to break down future episodes alongside us. Thank you for hearing us out and making it this far into the episode. We now return you to our regularly scheduled podcast. Well, there's definitely more in my notes, but we're not going to go there, folks. If you want a copy of them, you can always get them from our Ko-fi or Patreon page by either tipping us on Ko-fi or joining a membership on either.
You always got to leave them wanting more, Dave.
Exactly.
You got to leave them wanting more.
There's links here. There's lots of elaboration on stuff. It's all there. We don't always get through it. And actually, most of the time, we don't go through everything in my notes because a lot of it's very verbose. You'll learn a lot more. And I don't curse in my notes either. I leave little dashes where a curse word would be, even though I'm very mad. I still consider your thoughts. How about that, folks? This was great. I couldn't wait to talk about this episode so that we can watch the next episode. Because
I know. That's why I'm like, as soon as we're done here, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, these last two episodes together have been very awesome. I can see how a binge watch would be really, really fun of this series too, which is par for the course. But yeah, maybe watching this next episode, this being the 6th episode of 8 episodes, I believe.
6 of 8, yep.
Might be one where we can go, okay, we have a lot here. Maybe I don't want to rush into the next episode, which is kind of how sometimes these episodes work. But that being the case, can't wait. I hope you enjoyed what we've been doing here for you. The last episode was full to the brim, by the way, of so many cool factoids from the time between the Hollywood sign and the Native Center being in a different building. And I even wanted to make sure that the federal building is actually in the address that it is on the front, by the way, still
Wilshire.
today.
11100 Wilshire Boulevard.
Yeah, 11,000 Wilshire. No, was it Wilshire? Yeah, that's right. I thought it was the building that I called out the other week with the Indian Center. So that would have been kind of cool. In any case, we will be there next week for you for the 6th episode. Otto will be there as well, I hope. And that's it, folks. Countdown, 3 weeks left.
Yeah.
I think until the boys comes back /from. So wish us luck.
Yeah, you got a busy time coming up, Dave.
See you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm so excited right now recording this post-editing, pre-publishing wrap-up with you right now. Having just played for you our discussion on Dark Wind's 5th episode, its 4th season, because it is 10:45 p.m. on Sunday on the East Coast. Only 45 minutes after this episode aired on AMC, which means there's a very good chance that we'll be getting this episode out in short order for you to enjoy at the start of the week rather than near the end of it, which means Dave is finally caught up on his work for the first time in a very long time. And in fact, it's all thanks to AMC for giving us screeners this go around and last go around too. It's really helped us to give you better coverage sooner. And I couldn't be more grateful to the folks at AMC for doing this for us. And I think they know that this has helped them very much, because having entrusted the fans that are in this space with this level of access, it's the same game plan that they used for later seasons of The Walking Dead, entrusting the fans to hoist the series on their shoulders and bring it all home. That being said, you've reached the part of this podcast where we shout out our supporters. It's one of many perks that they receive. Both survivors and whisperers receive audible and visual shoutouts, and walkers receive visual shoutouts right after that. Starting with the Whispers, because we don't have any survivors, our junior producer tier that has access to our core channel, which is the host channel, as well as any private meetings that we may have. Whispers, like survivors, get access to join us in these episode breakdowns, but only when we're not doing screeners conversations. Sorry, Jason, who met us during our coverage of Dark Winds. Speaking of Jason, you can find him, he's a Whispers member, on Instagram via @Neos1, that's @NEOS, the number 1, HEONE. Rob Lucchese, you can find on TikTok via @RobStuff_N as in Nancy _thanks, THANGS. And of course, Kim Rowley, who you can find on Facebook via @Kim.Rowley, the number 1. So excited to get to talk about the 6th episode. I had just watched it after recording our thoughts on this one, and holy crap, there's a lot to say about it, so I'm not going to waste any time. I hope you've enjoyed these conversations, and I hope they've been very much worthwhile. Can't wait to discuss the next one, and I'll say in the meantime, and hopefully that meantime is not a very long time, just remember that we are Squawking Dead.